Why is our 269 October All Access special one of our best deals ever? Let us count the ways. 5 college football Saturdays, 5 NFL Sundays, full month of MLB playoffs, NHL starts October 12th, NBA season starts October 19th, plus any other sport your favorite handicap releases, all for under $9 a day. As an added bonus, sign up early and get the rest of September included for free.
Welcome into First Pitch for Friday, October 1st. October baseball is here. I am Drew Martin, your host, joined each and every Friday by Dave Cokin and Bryan Leonard of WagerTalk.com. We got 4 games on the docket for this Friday night full MLB card. We got best bets at the end. Come join us in the chat box. First up here, Dave Cokin. He knows his MLB, college football, NFL as well. Also note, guys, he has his college football lean list up on Twitter and Wager Talk. Good stuff there in terms of where Dave is looking to place his bets in college football. So check him out, experts page, wagertalk.com. Without further ado, happy Friday morning to you, Dave. Welcome into the show.
Thanks, Drew. One play yesterday, which was a baseball play, minus 1.5 on the Dodgers. A rare runs line played for me, and it got there. And I have an even more rare, or rarer, not sure which is correct, rarer, I guess. Well, either way, I have a money line parlay in baseball tonight. I think I did one other one of these this year, but I think this one is a good value. It's up for $25 right now on my homepage at WagerTalk, wt.buzz/DC. I have 5 college football plays. Those are available, obviously, and 9 games ended up in the lean category. They're games I'm not playing for one reason or another. Either I couldn't get the right number or some information. The lean list, as you mentioned, that's free. There's no cost for it. If you want to tail the games, fine. Or if it just provides you with some good information, that's fine as well. They're on my Twitter homepage at Dave Cokin. There's a little analysis on each of the 9 games if you go to my Wager Talk homepage. What else? 2 NFL games. One of those is free. That's on my Wager Talk homepage or on Twitter. I think that's about it. So that's it. That's the end of my promos for now.
Yeah, guys, check out that lean list. You can learn a lot of information there, and it's free, like Dave talked about, on his homepage at wagertalk.com. We get his analysis here for the MLB games, 4 of them, best bets at the end, and also, Bryan Leonard, interested in your opinions each and every Friday here. Bryan, what do you got going on, buddy? And happy Friday morning to you.
Hey, happy Friday morning. It's a new month. I haven't lost a game in the month of October yet. I hope to be able to say that for the next few days, as I'm excited about the weekend here in college and NFL football. Got some plays up right now, including a 5% play on Saturday. In fact, if you're going to buy the Saturday or the Sunday, better yet, just get a 3-day package or a 1-day package, save some money and get everything that we release. And I know Dave with his with those games, the first week you went like 11-2 on
11
your
and
games. How
1.
did you do last week, Dave?
3-3. I didn't have many last week.
I'll take the 14-5 in 2 weeks in no time. That's free information and free money there from Dave. And yeah, we've got some free plays up right now. I'll be putting some more up, and I'll be putting more football up. Don't know if I'll play any baseball. I did play one baseball yesterday. I did lose it. So I'd much rather put my money right now on football and playoff baseball, which I think is very easy to beat. So we're looking forward to that. But yeah, we'll talk some baseball. It's an interesting weekend here. We're seeing a lot of the games all starting at the same time. I know on Sunday they'll start at the same time. I haven't looked at yesterday's card, but I like what MLB does with that, where they start all the games the last day, all basically at the same time. That's real exciting, and the players don't have to be looking to see if they won or not. They could just look up on the scoreboard and see what their competition is doing. So a lot of fun, and I can't wait to talk some baseball.
Yeah, by the way, we are going to be continuing First Pitch into the playoffs. So we don't know if there's going to be games Monday. There could be, because we don't know what the American League tiebreaker situation is going to be, as it's still possible you could have 4 teams tied on Monday. I don't think it's going to happen, but That's a possibility. We'll certainly have something on Tuesday and Wednesday because we know there are games those days. So if there are games being played, check in because we'll be doing a show.
Yeah, guys, that will be 1:45 Eastern time. And anytime there's games here for the playoffs, we'll be going strong here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel, which you can chime in the chat box as we're going live. Shout out to Jessica in the house, King D. We got Buck, as always, Daniel in the house saying take the Marlins. Phillies are finished. We'll get to that in best bets. We got first game up here, guys. Milwaukee Brewers, LA Dodgers, 10:10 Eastern, 7:10 Pacific start here, Dave. We get Clayton Kershaw and Lauer going for Milwaukee. Looks like a total of 8, -220. That's the Dodgers at home. Hottest lineup in baseball. It's Dodgers or pass for me, Dave. How are you feeling late night tonight?
Well, it's definitely pass for me because the price is absurd. Look, obviously the game is of great importance to the Dodgers. They're still 2 games behind San Francisco. They have to win out and hope that San Francisco loses a game or 2 to San Diego. I'm afraid that wish list is not going to get fulfilled because the Padres, let's call it straight, the Padres just want to get this over with at this point. What a disastrous run. They're not even going to finish 500. It's unbelievable. I don't know where it ranks in terms of epic collapses, but it's up there on the list. So I think the Dodgers probably realize they're going to be playing a wild card game on Tuesday against the St. Louis Cardinals and Adam Wainwright. But they certainly would like to at least force the Giants to keep winning. So I don't see that they're going to just mail it in tonight. Nevertheless, I mean, how could 235 with Kershaw is crazy. The Brewers are too good to be laying that kind of a price to. Now, the game it's great that it's meaningless to Milwaukee. I don't know what they're going to have out there for their lineup tonight. They might play their regulars. They might rest a few guys. We don't know. It's a late game, so those lineups won't be out until later this afternoon. But just based on the number, even with the situation being what it is, I could only look at the Brewers, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dave. And Brian, you know, the price, very pricey on the Dodgers. Kershaw on the hill, -220. You liking anything late night tonight?
I think Dave hit on the head what the key situation is in baseball this time of the year, and that's knowing who is going to be in the lineup. Obviously, we try to get this show out as early as possible so that way you could shop for lines. At this time, we don't know who's going to be in the lineup, and from a starting pitcher standpoint, I think it's pretty equal. Eric Lauer is just having a tremendous year, 2.93 ERA. The guy's just been terrific, and he's had a lot of success against the Dodgers in the past. His last 5 starts against the Dodgers, a 59 average game score, 2.57 ERA, and he's pitching in good form right now. His last 7 starts overall, 62 game score, 2.01 ERA. He's had a lot of success against the Dodgers. He's pitching really well right now. From a starting pitcher standpoint, I think it's pretty equal when you take a look at the way these 2 teams are matched up. Now, the line is telling you the Dodgers are going to be playing all their starters, and you would assume that they would. But I don't think Milwaukee will play a ton of bench players because they're playing a team that they may play in the playoffs. They've won 3 out of 4 against the Dodgers so far this year. I think it's important for them to show the Dodgers that, yes, we can match up with you. If we have to play you in the playoffs, we can beat you in the playoffs. So I think it's a little bit different here for Milwaukee because they are playing the Dodgers and a team that they maybe meet later on, that they do come out and try to win these games. So because of that, I think Milwaukee in this price range is a bargain. In fact, it's a steal. At least it's a steal until we find out when they come out with the lineups and, you know, half the starters are sitting out. We won't know that until later on today. So pay attention to Twitter. This is something you're going to have to hit early. If Milwaukee comes out and you see that they're starting their normal lineup or close to it, Milwaukee is going to be a nice bet on. If they start the bench guys, then the Dodgers situation may turn out to be a little bit better. But even if they do start the bench guys, I can't be on the Dodgers side in this game.
Yeah, by the way, if you're looking for lineup info, the best source I use is baseballpress.com. They're usually really quick, in getting the information out, and it's just the outlay of the site makes it really easy to follow. You can just click on lineups, and there you have all the information. So that's a bookmark that's worth having throughout the baseball season is baseballpress.com.
Agree. Second that, Dave. That's a good one. I check that one out all the time. You can use MLB.com, but like Dave talked about, the outlay of the website, very easy there. Good analysis from Bryan Leonard as well and Dave Cokin. Brian, coming back to you for this next one, we got the Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Yankees, McClanahan and Cortez going at it. Again, two lefties. Actually, all four games we're talking about are southpaws as the starter. Minus 120. That's what we're seeing. The Yankees as the home favorite, 8.5 the total. And just to set the landscape for you guys, if you're joining us, towards the end of the regular season, it's coming down. Dave talked about it earlier in terms of 4 teams for 2 slots in this AL wildcard race. We're seeing the Yankees 2 games comfortably in. I say comfortably in quotation marks. Boston and Seattle, I guess, tied right now for that last spot, and the Toronto Blue Jays 1 game back. So it's coming down to this last stretch here, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. All the games starting at the same time on Sunday. But for tonight's game, Brian, anything you're liking here, the Rays and the Yankees?
I want to go a little bit off base for a minute and talk about Coach of the Year in baseball, American League. I think it should be Seattle. Seattle's doing so much better than what anybody expected. But keep in mind, the the Tampa Bay Rays are likely going to start 4 rookies in the playoffs, and your top pitchers are all rookies. You've got to give a ton of credit to Cash and management over there at Tampa. They've done a tremendous job with this team all season long, and coming into the season, if you would have told them Tampa Bay Rays are going to start 4 rookies in the playoffs, if they get into a 4-man rotation, you'd think they're never even going to make the playoffs. So a lot of credit goes out to Tampa Bay here. And another thing I want to speak a little bit about is I do a lot with StatCast. StatCast is more of a situational website where we're not worried about results. We're worried about the actual pitches made. And most of the time, it shows up exactly the same. We're going to have a couple of pitchers today that are a little bit different. And that's Shane McClanahan for Tampa. You take a look at his pitching stat line. He's very good in strikeout percentage and walk percent, but all the other stats are a little bit weak. He's given up a high exit velocity, 91.6, hard hit rate of 45.4. His ex-WOBA and his ex-batting average and ex-slugging are less than average. But when you take a look at his actual stats, he's been very good for Tampa Bay this season. And once we get to the Boston game, I'll talk a little bit about Rodriguez in that regard. Nestor Cortez has just been terrific all season, too. He's a guy that I like coming into the season. We talked a little bit about him earlier this year, and he's really stood up. He's pitched very well, 2.85 ERA on the season. His last 7 starts, 58 average game score, 3.23. So we've got 2 pitchers pitching very well. But keep in mind, McClanahan has faced the Yankees twice this year. He struggled in those 2 games. 6.75 ERA, 42 average game score. Small sample size, I know, but certain teams just seem to have your number. I like the Yankees a little bit here. I think the line's pretty fair for the Yankees. Not one of my best bets on the board, but it is a game where I think there's some value on the Yankees.
Okay, looking towards value on the Yankees. And Dave, coming to you next, both of these lineups kind of seeing the ball well right now. Not sure if that works into your handicap, but 8.5 being the total, minus 120 on the Yanks. Dave, what are you thinking?
Well, these last 7 days or so have been phenomenal for the Yankees. If you looked at where the races were and the schedule for the last 10 or so games of the season, I thought the Yankees were going to have trouble getting into the wild card because they had 3 games at Fenway, then they had to battle at Toronto, and then come home to face Tampa. That's tough. That's a tough slate, but they won all 3 games in Boston, and that changed everything. They've had a good week, beat the Blue Jays in the series, and they're in really good shape now. They basically only have to win 1 game this weekend, and they're probably going to be in. If they win 2, they are in. That's all they need. So, as much as I like Tampa, and kind of the way I look at this is my thoughts were that if Tampa had a chance to knock the Yankees out of the playoffs, they'd really go after this series. Because, honestly, the team that you least want to face, based on the lineup, is still the Yankees. I mean, they've got guys who can create big innings with Aaron Judge, Stanton, and a couple of other pieces. They're still a dangerous baseball team. Unfortunately, I don't know that it matters as much now for the Rays. They're probably not going to knock the Yankees out of the playoffs. I think they'll just root against the Yankees in the wild card on Monday because I think they'd rather face Boston or Seattle or even Toronto. But it's not going to matter what they do this weekend unless they were to win all 3 games against the Yankees, and that's kind of unlikely. So I think the approach for the Rays could be a little bit different here. They might just set their guys up, their pitchers, to be ready for next week, which means they won't go deep with anybody in these games, and might rest some of their key bullpen pieces. It points me to the Yankees side here. I'm not going to play the game. I just can't. I don't want to lay the price, and I really don't know what Tampa's going to do. But I guess my lean would have to be to the Yankees.
Okay, fair enough. In Yankee Stadium tonight. And yeah, like we said, guys, coming down to the end here in the AL wildcard races. We got 2 games left. If you're liking the content, please smash that like button. We got 10:10 Eastern, 7:10 Pacific start here for the next game, Dave. We're seeing the LA Angels at the Seattle Mariners. Mariners commanding a -155 price tag, 7.5 being the total. 2 southpaws going at it, Suarez and Gonzalez. You think this is too pricey to be on the Mariners, winning 4 straight, 9-1 their last 10, Dave?
No, I don't think it's too pricey because the Angels couldn't care less at this point. And yesterday was just, if they wanted one more nail in their coffin, it was yesterday. They had a 5-0 lead at Texas, and they managed to lose that game. Ohtani is not going to get used in this series. We were talking about that yesterday. The announcement came out, I think, actually, while we were doing the show yesterday, that he's not going to pitch. So they want to get this thing over with. Seattle obviously has every reason to play, as the Mariners are now actually in a pretty good position to make the playoffs. They've got an excellent chance to win out in this series, to sweep this series. They're a hot baseball team right now. Suarez has pitched pretty well for the Angels, but Gonzalez has been better for Seattle. And the game means way more to Seattle. Now, this might be one of those situations where you go, well, I don't want to lay that much. Let's go runs line. Problem with that is Seattle's still winning a lot of games by 1 run. They've got 33 1-run victories this year, which means out of 159 games, they've only had 56 wins by 2 or more runs. That's not a team you want to lay a 1.5 with, even against the Halos. But I'd be more willing to go ahead and lay the money line with the Mariners, or put them in a parlay with another high-priced favorite that looks like they should win tonight. But the Mariners the only way I'd play.
Sure, great analysis there from Dave Cokin, -155 price tag. And yeah, speaking to Dave's point, on this run line, the home team, so if they are up, at the end, they're not going to get that last at bat. So that's something to think about as well here with the late night action. And Brian, coming to you, what are you thinking? The Angels, Mariners, like Dave talked about, Mariners, a lot to play for, good bullpen. Coming down to the end here, what are you thinking in the Pacific Northwest tonight, Brian?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised the line is where it's at. You can catch 150s in some areas, all in the 150s at this point, which would give a 150 gives you a 60% chance of winning the game. And I think Seattle has a much better chance of winning the game than that. Gonzalez has just been terrific. You take a look at what he's done against the Angels last 2 years. His last 5 starts, 2.06 ERA, 66 average game score. So you've got a confident pitcher pitching at home with a confident team. And Dave's right. It would not surprise me at all if Seattle sweeps this series. The Angels have nothing to play for. Your best player on the team is not coming back for the season. He's taken off the rest of the year. Tony's not going to pitch. He's just going to DH. What do the Angels have to play for other than seeing some of their younger players a little bit better here? Suarez has been decent, 3.86 ERA, but he's not a guy I'm looking to go out and bet. He's not a big strikeout guy, and so he's not somebody I'm looking to back at this point. Gonzalez is a guy that has looked bad at times, but when he's good, he's really good. He's not going to dazzle you with the strikeouts, only 103 strikeouts in over 137 innings, but he's a guy that can pitch. And he's had a lot of success against this Angels team. Dave talked about the Seattle in the one-run games, 33 and 18. They're also 14 and 7 in extra inning games. They found ways to win. They traded away their best bullpen guy, and they continue to win the same way. They've just been managed terrifically this year. Granted, we don't know how long this is going to last. We've said that all season long. I think when they get into the playoffs and play the really good teams, they'll be eliminated. But I want to see them make the playoffs. They're a team that hasn't made the playoffs in, 20 years? I'm a Mariners fan. I want Mariners to make the playoffs. I'm rooting for the Mariners, and I think this line's a little bit cheap tonight. I think Seattle, at this current number, you can only look the one way in this game. I like Seattle.
I agree with you, Brian. I like Seattle. I'm rooting for him to make it as well. But on yesterday's show, with Marco and Dave, by the way, Marco 4-0 on his picks in the show. But Brian, we were talking, and Dave brought up a good point of, MLB, you kind of know they want the Red Sox and Yankees in that matchup. So is that factoring into your handicap at all?
It all comes down to the umpires. And if you watch the Indians game last night, Angel Hernandez behind the dish, he should be out of the league. The Cowboy has finally decided to retire until they make some moves and make this so the umpires are no longer a big factor. It's always a concern. And the thing is, some of these umpires have been so bad, you just expect bad calls out of them. And if baseball wants that, they could get some advantages. But if you're hitting well and you're pitching well, you may be at a little bit of a disadvantage, but you do have the better players and the team that wants the game more. So we will see. For a long time, I looked at that and I said, well, these things don't happen. A lot of guys think these games are fixed. But sometimes when you look at these games and you wonder why, certain teams make the playoffs out of the years and sometimes they don't, just look at the Sacramento Kings and their history. They haven't gotten a call in the world. So we'll have to see. I don't know. I'm more of a guy who doesn't believe in that kind of stuff, but sometimes some things do look a little fishy.
Yeah, well, tell that to the Red Sox fans who just watched them split with the Orioles and probably put themselves in a position where they're going to miss I think the Red Sox are going to miss the playoffs. And we'll talk about them now because we're moving to that game between the Red Sox and Nationals.
Let's hit it, Dave. We got Boston Red Sox, Washington Nationals, Rodriguez, and Rogers, two lefties again going at it. 9.5 being the total, minus 190 here. That's the cold lineup of the Boston Red Sox here. Brian, think this is your turn to lead off. 7:05 Eastern, minus 190 on the Red Sox. You like it anything here in our nation's capital? Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were speaking to Dave.
I thought you were going to just giving us the silent treatment of that game. because that's what I feel. That's what I feel like. That's what I feel like doing as far as the Red Sox are concerned. This stupid team. It's tough being a fan of this team.
He's been a puzzle all season long. He's sitting there with a 4.93 ERA. He does have 11 wins, 178 strikeouts, and 151.2 innings. 4.93 ERA on the season. Take a look at his StatCast numbers. Red is good, blue is bad. The only thing, there's no blue on the card for Rodriguez. The only white, which means league average, is his batting average of 236. He's very good to excellent in every statistical situation about the pitches that he throws. He's just not getting maybe it's the luck factor. I don't know what it is. 4.79 ERA. He's a guy that's pitched much better than that this year. I'm hoping to get him at a bargain in our fantasy league next year. I'm sure Dave sees the same thing I do, though, so he's always one step ahead of me, the damn Dave Cokin. But
yeah, right.
It's a situation for me that you never know what you're going to get out of Rodriguez. If you're betting him on his results, you fade him. If you're betting him on his raw talent, you're going to want to bet on him. Washington, the team The last 10, 4-6 straight up. They've long been out of the playoffs. But Boston, you take a look at them. The last 30 games, the last month, Boston playing a lot of teams that have been out of the playoffs. Your Baltimore Orioles, they just played 6 games against Baltimore. They played the Mets. They're only 16-14. They're fading down the stretch. I know Dave's a Red Sox fan. I'd like to see somebody different in there. My Indians aren't going to make it this year, so I'd rather see somebody different in. So I'm kind of rooting against the Red Sox a little bit, but I can't make heads or tails about this game. The Red Sox have been so you don't know what you're going to get day in and day out out of them. They do continue to have a winning record on the road, 40-38, but I find better games on the board to put my money on today.
Fair enough, Brian. And Dave, I can hear you chomping at the bit to get in on this one, man. What do you think in Boston and Washington?
Well, the Red Sox are the one team out of all these contenders. Well, there's two. The Oakland A's are the other one, and now they're done. Okay, the Oakland A's are out. The Red Sox are the team that's kind of let this get away. I mean, if you turn back the clock 2 weeks, they look like they're going to be the first wild card, and it's a free-for-all for the second spot. And they have basically played themselves into a bad position now, where they better win out, or they're not going to make it. Or they're going to get stuck in an elimination game with Seattle or Toronto to make the other elimination game against the Yankees. Look, it's been a bad run. They lose 3 in a row at home to the Yankees. They could have eliminated the Yankees. And instead, they go into that series with a 2-game lead over the Yankees and come out of it 1 game behind. All right, well, you can make that up. You're going to face Baltimore. And they lose 2 out of the 4 games they play to the Orioles. They're not playing good baseball. It's as simple as that. There are some teams that had chances to make the playoffs that have let them get away. Now, the Padres have been the most spectacular in that regard. But all that's done is kind of maybe lessened the way the Red Sox and I suppose the Phillies have played in these important games down the stretch because they've both been terrible. The Phillies had a chance. They were a game and a half out going into Sunday's action. They lose that game and then get swept by the Braves, and now they're playing a meaningless series this weekend. So the Phillies are a flop. And the Red Sox are a flop as well. I can't trust them as a 2-1 favorite. And the Nationals can still hit the baseball. Their pitching's not very good. So maybe Boston can outscore them in this series, but can you trust that Erod? I can't. And the Red Sox bullpen has been a mess basically for the second half of the season. If you want to point to one thing as to why the Red Sox probably aren't going to make the playoffs, or at least are in a difficult position, their bullpen stinks. Okay? And they didn't fix it at the deadline. They knew it, and they didn't fix it. I think the Red Sox will win tonight, but there's not a chance in the world I'd lay 2-1 to find out.
I like it, Dave. Good way to end it there on the 4 games, guys. Boston and Washington going at 7:05 Eastern. We got best bets coming out. Do want to give a shout out to the chat box. Everybody joining us live, Buck, Alex, Eric, all you guys, welcome in. And special shout out here to King D saying, man, shout out to all my serious handicappers in here. No fan stuff, just looking for great value like Walmart. Respect. And may you continue to beat the books. Talking about the chat box here, guys, and all the plays that everybody's throwing out there. Feel free to throw out whatever you're looking to bet on tonight's card this weekend. It all works. We got series prices as well. And if you're watching on replay, that is fine as well. Feel free to leave a comment below. Maybe a little special comment in terms of the thought process we were talking about earlier in, does who the MLB want in the playoffs actually matter? I think that it does matter sometimes in the NBA. I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority there. Maybe it translates over to the MLB. Brian, I know that you're a big, or you've just done very well in the past in NBA and MLB handicapping. Do you see any correlation there? Do you think it matters in MLB like it sometimes maybe could matter in the NBA?
I think in the NBA it matters more. It's more of a stars league as opposed to the baseball, You don't find baseball teams, at least the players, going out and joining up to be on the same team, that kind of thing. It's that's taken a lot of the fun out of the NBA. at least to me. But yeah, I have thought in the past about the NBA.
Yeah,
I look, if it mattered, the Red Sox would have gotten the benefit of some calls these last few days because, look, the Red Sox and Yankees is going to outdraw anything for one day.
Mm-hmm.
I had, and they look, Seattle's a nice story. They don't want, from a business standpoint, MLB doesn't want Seattle in the playoffs. If they get in, they hope they get knocked out right away. Because the Mariners, and that's just the way it is. No offense to Mariners fans. In fact, they've got great fans, and I kind of like the team. But from a business revenue generation standpoint, Seattle's the worst team they can have in the playoffs, and Tampa Bay is even worse than they are. Okay, they don't draw flies. It's a horrible market. But the Rays are in the playoffs basically every year, and they're in the World Series. So, yeah, I think anybody who subscribes to that line of thinking is being ridiculous because Tampa Bay would certainly – they'd do stuff to get them out of there because the Rays being in the playoffs every year costs Major League Baseball money.
Sure. The Rays, I mean, that front office. Yeah, it's probably the best front office in sports. It's the worst ballpark. You're right. The market is terrible.
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's amazing that they're able to do what they're able to do there.
They're not even – they won't even sell out their playoff games. They won't even sell out their playoff games. They never do, unless the Yankees or the Red Sox happen to be the opponent, and then they buy up all the tickets.
Mm-hmm. Fenway and Yankee Stadium of the South.
Yeah, it's a great area for football.
Minor league teams there.
Yeah, great area for football, obviously. But baseball, and they're in St. Petersburg. They're not in Tampa Bay. And St. Petersburg's not exactly the best market on the planet. The average age in St. Petersburg is like 106. Okay. Anyway.
So, Dave, when you move to St. Petersburg?
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
He doesn't like the humidity. Guys, we are running up against it time-wise. Time for best bets here. Check out Dave Cokin, his experts page, WagerTalk.com. He's got his lean list where he's given out his opinions in college football, the teams that maybe just missed his client card. He's also got free plays up. I'm seeing Georgia Tech +3 in the hook there. The Yellow Jackets. Dave, have at it for best bets and any final thoughts for the show.
Yeah, this would have been a play for me, but I didn't get the price I wanted, and that's on the first 5 under in the Phillies-Marlins game. Ranger Suarez, the Philly, I don't know what the Phillies are going to have out there tonight. I suspect it's going to be a skeleton crew offensively, so they might not score much, especially against Alcantara, who's having a great year for Miami. And I like the way Ranger Suarez has pitched, and I think he probably will be effective tonight against the bad Marlins lineup. And pitchers don't quit, by the way. They want to still go out there and do a good job. So I expect Suarez to pitch well. I expect Alcantara to pitch well. And I would have been okay at 3.5 flat, but it's 3.5 under juiced, -115. So in other words, if I were to go with a 3-star, a 3% play on this, that's -345 to make 300. I don't want to risk the 45. So that's basically why I didn't make my card. But I do like it as my best recommendation. I do have a parlay up tonight in Major League Baseball if you want to get that. But among the rest of the games, under first 5 in the Phillies-Marlins, I think you'll get pitching dominating for the first 5 innings there.
Check them out, guys. WagerTalk.com, experts page, Dave Cokin. We also got Bryan Leonard here, 27, 13, and 1 run in 5% plays, MLB, plus 84 units of profit. So check him out at WagerTalk.com as well. Free plays up. Seeing Michigan and Wisconsin there, detailed written analysis. Bryan, where are you going for best bets and any final thoughts for the show, buddy?
Yeah, we'll go back to the first game we discussed, the line situation with Milwaukee and the Dodgers. Let's just play it for a half a unit because we don't know who Milwaukee's going to be playing at this point. I don't think it's going to hurt you by grabbing that right now. And if they do come out with their starters, maybe you won't get that kind of number later on in the game. So let's go with basically a half a unit on Milwaukee and hope for a really nice pitching matchup here. And I think Milwaukee will shut down a little bit, as much as you could shut down the Dodgers. Shut down the Dodgers a little bit. And yeah, like I said, get the either the weekend package or the full game package for a Saturday and Sunday. I've got plays up already. I'll be adding more plays today, maybe tomorrow if I can get some line movements the way I'm looking for. Always looking for key line movements. So plays can come up at any time once they get into the strike zone. So looking forward to this weekend of football.
Guys, for my best bet, I am heading to the game that Dave talked about. We're actually lining up for and that's somebody I like lining up with, Dave Cokin. Miami Marlins, Philadelphia Phillies here. 2 of the 3 coldest lineups in MLB by weighted runs created plus number over the last 7 days, both under the 62 number. We get Sandy Alcantara and Suarez going for Philadelphia. 2 really good pitchers here. Now, the bullpen's a little question mark, so that's why I'm staying first 5 here. The 3.5 number that Dave talked about, under. That's what I'm going with, minus 115 out there in the marketplace. Suarez, no more than 2 earned runs given up since mid-August. Last time out against the Fish, he blanked them, 1 walk or less in his last 5 starts. If he's not giving away free passes here, I don't think this Fish lineup is going to put up many runs against them. And Alcantara on the other side, one of the more misleading, if you just kind of look at it from a glimpse view, he's 9-14, 9 wins, 14 losses. Just speaking to his talent, he's getting like no run support, which also speaks towards the under here. His last 5 starts, 0.85 whip. He has 60 strikeouts and 5 walks in his last 7 starts. So he is absolutely dominating the opposing lineups. His average fastball is 99 miles per hour in his last 7 starts. I don't think either lineup has much success at all. Under 3.5, first 5. Miami Marlins, Philadelphia Phillies tonight. Guys, in the recap for the best bets, we got that under Philadelphia and the Marlins first 5 from both Dave Cokin and myself. It is a minus 115 price tag on that. And Bryan Leonard, Brewers, plus 195. For Dave Cokin, Bryan Leonard, I am Drew Martin. Thanks for tuning in. Please smash that like button on your way out. If you're watching on replay, again, feel free to comment below. And we will be back next week. Playoff baseball coming to you. Enjoy the final weekend of MLB, guys, and we'll talk next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Why is our 269 October All Access Special one of our best deals ever? Let us count the ways. 5 college football Saturdays, 5 NFL Sundays, full month of MLB playoffs, NHL starts October 12th, NBA season starts October 19th, plus any other sport your favorite handicap releases, all for under $9 a day. As an added bonus, sign up early and get the rest of September included for free.